we'll get our equilibrium here. So the question now is, what if we have a rise in real income? What is the impact of a rise in real income? We know that this is LYR and M over P is, so we said that the demand for money changes with the same sign as the change in income, so that partial is positive. Since y is exogenous in this diagram, we get a rightward shift of this curve. So we get a rightward shift here, and we have Ly2R, where y2 is larger than y1, the original income. So what has happened here? Now, if in this situation you see real income has increased, and people have higher cash needs in order to conduct transactions, so they're trying to get their hands on more cash. There's only one way you can do that. You have to sell part of your bonds. So you try to shift your portfolio from maybe being heavy in bonds to being heavier in cash, because you have those cash needs. Now what happens if everybody's doing that? Well, you get downward pressure on bond prices, and the price of bonds is inversely related to the interest rate. So as you're getting downward pressure on bonds, the interest rate rises, and we're getting this increase in R. So here's R star 1 and here's R star 2. Now we can do a similar thought experiment and consider monetary policy. Let's draw a diagram. Money supply, and money demand. What if the central bank wants to reduce the interest rate? Well, it's quite straightforward to see that requires an increase in the money supply, which will lead us to a new R star 1 and R star 2. So we have, with the increase in the money supply here, we get a reduction in the interest rate. What has happened? Well, we said we have these two actors here, the central bank and the private sector PS. The central bank increases the money supply by buying bonds. So central bank goes out and buys bonds from the owners of the bonds, the holders of the bonds, which are the private sector market participants. And as the central bank is buying these bonds, their price increases, which again, because of that inverse relationship between the price of bonds and the interest rate, leads to a reduction in the interest rate. So essentially, the central bank acting as a large participant in the bond market leads to a change in the price of bonds, a change in the yield on the bonds, and at the same time to this increase in the money supply. You can of course make the same argument in the reverse direction. So you have MPS here and MPD here, so that a reduction in the money supply implies this rise in interest rate. Again, what has happened here? Well, the central bank now goes out and sells bonds. So as the central bank sells bonds, their price falls and the yield on the bond rises. But as the central bank sells bonds, it mops up cash that has previously been in private sector hands and reduces liquidity. So let me put that here, maybe CB buys bonds and CB sells bonds. In any of these cases, the key issue is that this simple domestic or national financial market with two assets gives us a clear explanation what determines the interest rate, which is private sector return seeking or security seeking behavior on the